Hey everyone, Owls Everywhere here for another Creatures of Sonaria video. So as you may know, the LSS event is currently going on and there's 2 new creatures that are being brought for this event. So for this video I'm going to showcase the 2 new creatures, the Glovicus and the Angelic Warden, because I'm guessing you might have already seen the Yggdrastix, the Auron, and the Valkyrie. As well as showcasing the 2 new creatures for this event, I'm also going to be explaining a theory I have on the Angelic Warden, so stay tuned for that. And without further ado, let's get on with the video. So first off, we have the Glovicus. It is this really cool looking creature, and it is a bit of a lava themed creature. And in lore, it is said to be the kind of creature to bring upon volcanic eruption, so that's neat. It is a carnivorous semi-aquatic glider, and I made this really nice purple, pinkish skin, but its palette also has oranges, reds, and blues as well. So there's a lot of creativity that can be had with the default palette for this creature. It jumps up pretty high when you decide to glide, and something that I'd recently figured out is that you can press F and then press F again to go higher instead of pressing space, and it doesn't deplete stamina. See, look, I'm really high up now. I'm above the islands. Seems that there's a limit to how... Nope. Maybe there isn't a limit to how high up you can go. I really like how its walking and running animations tend to it tends to it uses its wings to run across the ground, unlike creatures like Valkyrie who are just perpetually floating. So that's really cool. I really like this creature a lot. And now for the star of the video, the Angelic Warden. I really love Wardens in general, but this one really looks really cool. I love all the wings and stuff. Oh, this is the first Warden to have wings, by the way, and it's the first Warden to be a carnivore, so that's interesting. But I really love how heavenly they made it look with both the design and the animations. As you can see, with the walking and the running animations, it seems really lightweight, almost as light as a feather, and it uses magic. And in lore, it uses magic to fly, so that's why its flying animation doesn't really use its wings that much. Sorry that I crashed into this spire right here, but in case you can't tell, in the flying animation, it doesn't really flap its wings all that much. It's mostly just using it to keep itself aloft. But it mostly uses magic to fly. I think this Warden looks really cool. It has a nice color palette of whites and browns and blacks that you can make any kind of monochrome skin that you want. And if you take a look at the skin that I made right here, it is a barn owl skin, because who do you think I am? Crows everywhere? Eagles everywhere? Preposterous. Anyway, so I think this creature looks really just amazing, especially with all the biblical themes and stuff like that. The devs did a really good job at making this creature look so heavenly and all that. Now next shall be my theories about the Angelic Warden and how it fits into the lore of Sonaria regarding the Novus Warden, so stay tuned. Now, I don't really know that much about Creatures of Sonaria lore, but something that had always interested me is the Wardens. The Wardens all seem to be these large, godlike creatures, each having their own domain over something in Sonaria. For instance, the Boreal Wardens would be ice, the Ardor Wardens love, the Verdant Warden is life, the Helion Warden is time, and the Gara Warden is death. And they all seem to... those 5 all seem to have some sort of they're all these ethereal figures, In case you haven't seen the Boreal Warden, it's ginormous. And another thing about them is that some time ago, the devs had added the statues for 6 of the Wardens, which would be like 6 out of the 7 current Wardens in the game, which would be Boreal, Ardor, Verdant, Helion, Gara, and Novus. Now, like, all the statues seem to be doing different things. For instance, the Boreal appears to be laying down, but an interesting thing about it is that it has an ice spike through its paw. The Ardor Warden is bowing down to something. The Verdant Warden is rearing up, and it is holding a flower. The Helion Warden has its claws in an attack position, but they're chained up. One thing that I find strange is the Novus Warden statue. Let me just swim down to show you guys. So, like, as you can see, like, all of the other Warden statues seem to be, like, standing up and, like, doing, like, certain positions, but this Warden isn't, for some reason. It might be a bit too dark to see, but, like, this Warden is, like, laying down a bit haphazardly, as if it had been, like, knocked out or struck down. And, like, you might not be able to see it because it's dark, but the Warden is, like, chained to the ground, which is strange. Like, while the other Wardens had been allowed to stay standing in place, the Novus Warden is, like, laying down almost as if it's been killed. And this is more like its corpse than a statue. Now, if you look at the plate here, each of the Warden statues have some sort of plate, and while it may be hard to read here, the community has deciphered the word here to say false, which is admittedly a bit strange. Like, why would the Novus Warden be labeled as false? So each of the Wardens, they tend to come during events. For instance, the Boreal at Christmas, Ardor during Valentine's, Helion, that one doesn't come during an event, you just get that one from the time gacha. The Gara Warden from Halloween, and the Verdant Warden from Easter. And then you get the Novus and the Angelic from the LSS event. And, like, the strange thing is that the LSS event seems to be the only event that has these 2 Wardens in specific. And, you know, I think it's kind of strange. Like, especially with the fact that the Novus Warden is labeled as a false Warden, and it comes in the same event as the Angelic Warden. I figured that they must have some sort of relation with each other. Some sort of reason for that. Now, I haven't really gotten a chance to look around the map, but I haven't really found an Angelic Warden statue anywhere, which, like, you know, since the devs tend to change the map around a bit, like adding decorations and other things whenever events come around, like, I figured that they could easily have added an Angelic Warden statue somewhere around the map, but as far as I know, there isn't one. So I figured that I'd try to go look at the Warden room to see if the Angelic Warden's crest had been added there. I'm standing here in the Warden room now, and as you can see, there is the crest of the Ardor Warden, the Helion Warden, the Gara Warden, the Verdant Warden, the Boreal Warden, and the Novus Warden. Now, as you may be able to see, the Novus Warden's crest is a bit different from the others. It's broken, and then something tried to stitch it together. Now, there's also, like, some strange details about this room in specific. For instance, this sewing needle over here, and then this sewing needle over here. And if you look up, you're able to see 2 more sewing needles hanging from threads in the ceiling. But the interesting thing is over here, it looks like some kind of hand with a crystal in its wrist, and it's holding a needle as well. Now you may think this might be the Boreal Warden, like this hand may belong to the Boreal Warden, but that, like, it doesn't match up really. The Boreal Warden's hand doesn't really have that hole in it, like its arm. And you can tell that there's one crest that's still missing from here, and that would be the Angelic Warden. Now, if you're looking around at all of these crests, you can tell that they all look rather, like, weathered and eroded a bit, as if they'd been here for a long time, like as if they're ancient. And the Angelic Warden's crest is just not here, neither does a statue of it appear anywhere around Sonaria as far as I know. And here's the kicker. The Angelic Warden seems to be the Warden of Rebirth, which I found a bit interesting when I first heard about it. Especially with, like, the position that the Novus Warden statue is in, and the condition of the Novus Warden's crest right here. So that got me wondering, could the Novus Warden have died somehow, and the Angelic Warden was created to replace it? Like, you might, like, even with everything that I've explained, you might, like, think that might be a bit out there. And as I've mentioned, like, I'm not very well versed on Creatures of Sonaria lore, but to me, like, this might imply that the Angelic Warden, like, is not only, like, new, like, update-wise and gameplay-wise, but it also might be new lore-wise. Like, it had just been created, and it had been created, like, after all of these original 6 had been created. So I'm not quite sure, like, what happened, like, with all of this, like, considering that, like, considering the hand over here and all the sewing needles around the area, I'm led to believe that perhaps there was some sort of original creator that had made the Wardens, and, like, something had happened to the Novus Warden. Maybe it had rebelled against the other Wardens, which is why it's labeled as false, or something like that, and that called for it to be struck down. And perhaps, like, this original creator had tried to, I don't know, sew the Novus Warden back together and fix it and bring it back to life, but that failed. So maybe it created the Angelic Warden to take the Novus Warden's place. That's mostly just my theory, but what do you think? Do you agree with me, or do you have any other ideas as to what the Angelic Warden and the Novus Warden are and how they relate to each other? Yeah, if you have any other ideas, then perhaps you can discuss them in the comments, but that'll be it for the video. If you enjoyed the video, then please make sure to leave a like, and if you generally enjoy my content, then please consider subscribing. This is Owls Everywhere, signing off.